it was church, it was community, it was me wanting not to be different. And also it was also me believing there was something wrong with me because I truly thought this. If you believe in God, because not everyone does actually, like there's nothing, I don't believe that God will send you to hell for being yourself, right? So find the people and you will be fine, and it's okay. Okay, so my name is Ryan. I live in Nairobi, but I'm from the eastern part of the country. Yeah. So I'm interested in mental health. That is what I do, but also advocacy work.
Could you share a bit about your personal journey and when you first became aware of your identity?
So I'd say I first became aware of it when I was in high school. Like that's when I knew what it was. But that is not to say that I wasn't who I was earlier, right? So I just didn't know it was something, but it was different. So I think I was queer from when I was quite young. Let's say as young as maybe 7, 8. But when I went to high school, that's when I realized it was something. And it was a thing because I was in a boys' high school. It was a very homophobic boys' high school. And so suddenly it became a thing. So I would have been around 16, 17.
What led you to participate in conversion practices? Was there pressure from family, community, or religious institutions?
Well, it's because I grew up religious. I grew up a Catholic. There wasn't actually pressure from my family, if anything. I think I was a religious one in the family. So I think a lot of it was that pressure that I took in myself. And I was in religious schools throughout. Yeah. So that meant I grew up hearing what is right and what is wrong. So like what is acceptable for, who you should date, who you should be interested in. So it was just that I didn't want to be different. And I didn't realize I was different until I was in high school. And I wasn't in conversion practice until after high school, because that's when it became a real problem for me, because I was like, okay, obviously this seems to be wrong and not everyone is like me. So it's those voices from growing up in church, and of course more voices from still being in church because I was active in church. So it was pressure from growing up, and also, I think growing up I kind of like wanted to have a normal life. Like I imagined I would get married, have kids, and then I was realizing quickly it's not possible. Okay, at least according to what everybody was saying. Yeah, so it was church, it was community, it was me wanting not to be different. And also it was also me believing there was something wrong with me because I truly thought this. Yeah. So that's where that was coming from.
Could you describe the specific methods or techniques that were used during your experience with conversion practices?
There have been several, but all of them have involved some religious leader. After high school, just as I'm about to join campus, so when I realized it's a problem, right, and it's a sin, I guess, so I was trying to figure that out. And so I'm trying to reach out to people, trying to figure out whether I can still be a person of faith and still be queer. So in the process, I went online and there were forums that I was trying to look for other queer people, right? And so I bumped into this older guy he's a pastor. He knows a lot of queer people, but then he's able to help you stop being queer. I was like, okay. I think the reason I was interested in him is because he didn't outright have a problem with me being queer. He used to pray for me. It's those where someone is placing their hands on you, and it's really. And as I said, I grew up Catholic, so I wasn't used to this very Protestant way of praying where someone is screaming and it was too much. I think I feel this pressure for it to look like it's working, right? So this went on for a while, actually. In my mind, I'm like, can I meet these other people who you say you've prayed for? And he wouldn't let me. It was starting to be inappropriate, right? And so at some point I said, I don't think this is good for me. And that time it became really hostile, saying, the prayers I sent, I can reverse them. It was strange. So I came to realize, I think he was taking advantage of like young queer guys and wanting to spend time with you, wanting to go out, have meals with you. So that was my first, but I was desperate, like I wanted it to work. I truly wanted it to work, but it wasn't working. And so when I told him that, he wasn't very happy with it. I remember during the prayer sessions, I'd be there like kind of like waiting for something to change, but it wasn't happening. I think part of me was also trying to find friends, trying to find people I can have these conversations with. At that time, I was new in town, came from the village, right? The other time it happened was something similar. I went to campus. My first year of campus, I was trying to sort of explore my queerness. That didn't work out very well because I couldn't find people. But then I joined the CU in campus, which is a Christian union, and I had friends now. And so I sort of stopped being queer in quotes. I was like, okay, you know what, I'm a good Christian boy now. And so, but in the process, second year, third year, this pastors used to come to school to preach on Sunday, and I used to stay in campus. I decided to talk to one of them because you're queer, you can't hide it. So like I was still having this conversation, these thoughts in my mind, and I'm feeling like I'm failing. I'm trying to pray and stuff. We got to talking, and he said, there's something simple, just pray about it. Again, we go through the same process where it's just prayers. And I'm like, I am trying to pray, and he's like, just try harder, open yourself up, try. And I'm like, I'm trying, and sometimes it's getting intense, and like, sometimes I'm trying, it's like, I don't know why it's not, changing. It's like, you're refusing to do it. That's how it's not happening. Recently, I think late last year, I was doing this project where I was working with another therapist who's older therapist. She's in her 50s. We were doing some project in Baringo, and so we met through a queer program, right? So in my mind, I'm like, if you're doing this kind of work, you obviously understand who queer people are. But in the process, when you were there, after maybe a series of trainings and we were just chilling in the evening, she started to tell me, I think it caught me quite off guard because I didn't expect that from such a person. Like, look at this girl. I'm like, you're a therapist, so and you've been working with queer people, like you think like this, and start telling, you can actually do it, and it kept going. And I think I was just too shocked because I think I had sort of trusted them, like we're working together for a while. But so that was happening. It was like, you know what, you can do this. You just need to talk. Let's do some trauma work. And then okay, so of course I think I'm at a place where I've accepted myself better, but so still that was shocking, and surprisingly it affected me all these years ago. It was like it was strange somehow, something it bothered me that a therapist was telling me this, especially one who has done actually quite a lot of work, and in some cases being trusted to work with people on our own without any supervision. Yeah, so those are some of the experiences we've been talking about.
What were the immediate emotional and psychological effects you experienced during these practices?
Yeah, so I grew up Catholic, but then the schools I went to are mostly sort of Protestant church schools. So there's a lot of talk around belief and faith, so that if you want something bad enough, you can get it, right? So each time I go through this experience and it's not changing, I feel like phony, like am I doing the Christianity wrong? Am I praying wrong? So I'm going through this whole thing. I feel like I'm failing, and I'm trying really hard to change. It was very isolating. First of all, talking to these people about my queerness is already a problem, because I'm like, can I trust them? And then we go through this process and it's not changing, and I can't tell them, right? And I have friends who would not know anything about me. So I think it was very isolating, lonely in that sense. Here, let's say Protestant or evangelical was sort of casting demons out of someone. Like it can be really violent. The whole thing, it's noisy. Someone is touching your head, shaking you, and that whole process alone, it's actually traumatizing in some ways. So, and then for that not to have any effect, you feel like there's something wrong with you. So, and you can't speak to someone, right? So it's continuing the isolation. So I think that was the experience for me: loneliness, isolation, feeling like you're broken, feeling like you're not praying right, and also a sense of like despair, because it's like will it ever work, right? So yeah.
How have these experiences affected your mental health, relationships, and sense of self over the long term?
They affected me in the sense because a lot of them revolve around faith and religion. So after a while, I felt like I was failing at faith, right? So I decided to leave church. I decided to, like that wasn't for me, which was challenging for me because that, like in campus, all my friends are church friends. So at some point, I used to live close to all my schoolmates. I moved away because I felt now it wasn't possible to. I couldn't tell them where I was, and because then after campus, I got up until like I think I'm okay with who I am. So, but that also meant staying away from all the people that I knew in high school, in the campus, growing up. So basically, I had to start a fresh, new place, finding new people.
Was there a moment when you realized these practices weren't working or causing you harm?
It took a while to find other spaces, right? But for a while, it was just go home, work. I basically had no social life, so to speak. In that sense, because then the sense I got from going through these experiences was that I couldn't be both. Let's say a person of faith and queer at the same time. So there's that sense where you sort of resign yourself to feel like, okay, all right, like I am queer, there's something, I am sin, I'm broken, things like that. So I learned how to hide my life, how to lie if I needed to. So it affected it, completely ruined my social life as it is, because literally the communication was, you're not welcome. And I even tried like finding spaces which even were said to be a bit progressive, like the really modern churches. But you go and still, those things are still there. You can tell you're not welcome.
How did you find your way towards healing or self-acceptance afterwards?
So as I said, most of this happened in the period between high school and the first few years of campus. I finished uni and I started working. So there's a period there where I was just focused on work and sort of suppressing all of it. I just living as if that's not the case. And it worked for a while. But then after some time, I started to feel the need to connect to people. And I started to think about it and to read stuff. I think for the first time I started to think about the fact that I don't think there's anything wrong. It doesn't feel wrong to me. Like other people are saying this. That I don't think there's a problem whether I go to church or wherever I'm going and still being queer. It's after going through hell, and because it's myself who was putting myself through that. I was like, it's like I was going through like a celibate phase, or a phase where I'm like, I don't want to interact with the queer world. Yeah. So it got to a point where I thought about it, and I actually looked inside and for the first time I was like, hey, this doesn't feel wrong. It doesn't feel wrong. So I was thinking for myself for the first time. At some point I stumbled upon CSC, the church where Pastor Caroline is the pastor. I went there. The church used to be in town, smack in the middle of town, and I remember the whole time was just like I was so scared. I thought like cops would just surround you because it's like how is a queer space in the middle of town? But basically finding that space really helped me because I was finally in the community, interacting with people, and it helped again as someone who grew up religious, and the people there are saying you can actually be queer and religious.
If you could speak directly to someone currently considering or being pressured into conversion practices, what would you want them to know?
I would tell them that they're not alone. You're not alone. And if you just wait and if you just trust yourself, you can find other people who are like you, people who will accept you for who you are, and they will love you, and you're okay. There's nothing different. And again, since most of the times this is coming from faith spaces, I would also want to tell them, it's possible to be queer and a person of faith. There's nothing wrong with that. God does not hate you. If you believe in God, because not everyone does, there's nothing. I don't believe that God will send you to hell for being yourself, right? So find the people, and you will be fine, and it's okay.